Hello dear viewers and welcome to the Musings of Maverick channel. This is your host Maverick and today we're starting a new series, Kanojo, Okarishimasu, which is basically roughly translating to renting a girlfriend. So, I'm sure that there are some newcomers here today, so just to give a brief introduction to my channel, typically all my videos will be divided into 3 different parts. The first part will be an introduction or a recap of the last episode, depending on the situation. The middle part will be my blind reaction. Typically, I don't look at the source material before I watch an episode of the anime. I might watch it after the fact just to catch up on stuff that was left out and whatnot, but I like to go into these blind. And then finally, I have what I call my musings section, which is where I like to do a little bit more in-depth discussion about the episode at hand, what I like, what I didn't like, and typically for more, I guess, fantasy, sci-fi kind of series, I like to go through the mechanics, different concepts that comes out, and whatnot. In a series such as this, which is more rom-com, maybe this will be more on the light side, but still, I'll try to give any relevant information where I can, or maybe some bits of trivia. So, anyways, they will all be timestamped below, so just jump to whichever part that you wish. So anyways, since this is the first episode, let's talk a little bit about this work, right? So it is a manga adaptation, and honestly, when I read the synopsis of this, my first thought was instantly nisekoi, right? Now, I'm sure that nisekoi is a little bit of a controversial subject for many people. Lots of people hate it, lots of people love it as well. Personally, I thought it was pretty entertaining. Now, I did not really watch the anime of it. I was more of a manga reader, and I was more of a casual manga reader, right? I wasn't literally like waiting every week for a new chapter to drop. But, for what it was, I thought it was pretty damn entertaining, right? Lots of people say it's trash, but I think in most cases, as long as you're entertained by a work, that is value in itself. Is this going to be anywhere like Nisekoi? Well, based on the synopsis, based on the character designs, I would certainly think there are some similarities, but of course there are going to be lots of places where it's different as well. So that's something that we shall see within the episode. It's being made by TMS Entertainment, who brought to us works such as, what did they bring us? Stone Wars, right? And I believe Fruit Baskets as well. And also, I think they made some of the newer Conan movies, Detective Conan movies. So, yeah, a pretty established studio here. One thing that did catch my eye while looking through the sort of the basic stuff about this anime was definitely in its cast and staff. It's using a very solid cast, A tier all the way. We got Sora-chan, we got Aoi-chan, we got Nao-chan, we got Rieri. Lots of big names at least for this modern area, right? And then, of course, one thing that particularly caught my eye was that the music producer, or I guess the person in charge of music for this anime, is actually none other than Yadain himself. And I always love his music, so I am interested to see what he can do with, a rom-com series, which shouldn't be so over the top, which is what he specializes in. So, I got these things to look forward to. Let's just see if this is any good. Alright, let's begin in 3, 2, 1, play. College student, eh? Seriously? Okay. She's cute. I'll give you that. Blocked. Well, when they even block you, that's certainly possible. I can definitely already feel the Yadain musical influence already. This well, honestly, this is actually a pretty popular service in actuality, right? My first thought was, okay, this is definitely like calling escorts or whatnot. But actually, because it's Japan, they actually do have these kinds of services. Uh, and I think this is not even a new concept, honestly. This is a pretty old concept. I've seen stuff about this like 20 years ago, where you. All right, all right. I know you're hiding a boner, man. Just whack one out. You'll feel much better. Post nut clarity, right? We all know that. Anyways, as I was saying, so this is actually not a new concept, although I guess using an app to rent it is it's kind of new. There's not only rental girlfriends, there's also rental boyfriends, and there's also rental families and rental friends. You said kawaii, not hot. That's gotta treat her. Hmm? Are you sure it's not because you tried to show off your knowledge with your ex-girlfriend? Now, I would expect that for services like this, there's probably like pure legit services, and then there's also ones where you could pay extra, if you know what I mean. Ikebukuro. I gotta say, that was some pretty good service as well at the end. Actually holding hands and whatnot. She's diligent and a hard worker. Yeah. Well, no shit, dude. It's like, what was that? 1 million yen? That's what, 10,000 USD? And I think 8,000 is left. Uh, Damn, she is super pro. But yeah, she probably has lots of experience dealing with men, boys like him. That's a pretty good answer. But you know, I kind of get what you know, I kind of get his thought process as well. It's not easy actually being obviously not something like this, but I mean in a sense where you kind of feel empty inside doing things like this. It's a job, dum dum. All right. Yeah, chew him out, man. Chew him out, girl. Oh shit, it's not anonymous? Hey, Gil, okay. Yeah, you're totally in the wrong. She's gonna follow along. I guess her professionalism doesn't allow her to just leave him be. Ah, you're gonna regret it, man. Although, actually, never mind. Since this is a rom-com, he's probably not gonna regret it. Wow. That was a full score smile. Yep. mean, he actually did have a pretty cute girlfriend before. You guys are being too mean towards him. I'm pretty sure this is already over an hour, right? Okay. She's one of those old people. Man, she is a super. You know what? I kind of bet that she has been in this kind of situation before. Ah. Really? Okay, so you gotta play the part of boyfriend as well. Oh, there she is. All right. Oh. Well, it is a rom-com. Ah. Yeah, that's kind of asking a bit much. All right. Come on, get up, dude. Although, oh, right in the balls. Ah, it's her grandma. Hmm. This is not the time to... Like, seriously, think this through, dude. Would you... There's no way that a girl would want to admit to her relatives that she's working this kind of job. We can definitely tell that Kazuya, sorry, is not exactly the brightest tool in the shed. Yeah, done this before. Yeah, that's the easiest way. So, then. Pays pretty well. Uh-huh. Right. And already? Ah. And then instantly calling her again. Oh my god. Hmm? It's her? Oh. I mean, huh? A what? Oh, I see. But nice, they can actually still recognize it. He still recognizes her. Alright. I mean, well. Alright, let's take a look at the ending here. I was asking if do you want an extension, and you gotta pay for the extension. Alright, looks like this girl's gonna be back as well. Oh, nice. The ending song is by the Peggies. Alright. Or actually, this might be the opening song. I'm not entirely sure. Alright, so I guess this is a preview. Alright, so I'll see you guys after this. Alrighty, so that was the first episode of Kanojo Okarishimasu. So, well, right off the bat, we can say that the development is already a bit different from the Nisekoi, since even though there was a misunderstanding, that's not really the thing that's leading them to, having to carry out this fake relationship further, right? So, already we can put that to rest. Let's talk a little bit about the renting concept first, right? Because, as I mentioned in the episode, it's really nothing new. I think it was back almost 20 years ago when I first realized that there was this kind of service where you could rent, basically you could rent friends or fake family members or whatnot. It's all just to solve the feeling of loneliness, right? So I think I kind of forgot like where it was that I read about this, but even at that time there were services that for instance for the old and lonely, they could rent out the whole family basically, and they would come and they would act like you were their grandparents or whatnot, and then basically just carry on as usual, and almost not even for any specific purpose, but just act like you are also a part of the family, and integrating you so you don't feel lonely, right? So even for all far back as then, there were these kinds of services. And the concept of prostitutes and hookers, all right, that's as old as time. Of course, when you do get to the level of basically only taking them out for on dates, or on to go to fancy restaurants and whatnot, typically call themselves escorts, right? Although this kind of situation where it's a more lower end kind of escort, I can definitely see it happening. I mean, there has to be a service like this in Japan right now, and probably lots of them as well. And there's probably a service just like that in your home city, wherever you are, as long as it's at a certain level of prosperity, right? So not really not really surprised by all this at all. I mean, come on, and especially for Japan's case, I think it's even a little bit more different in a sense where I can actually believe that the services that they're providing here are completely legit, and I mean that there's no, well, I mean, everything has a price, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if with this exact kind of service you can eventually add more money until you can go all the way and whatnot. But I can also totally believe that in countries like Japan, they will offer these services where it's completely legit, right? No sexual activities or whatnot, and it's really just being a good girlfriend. I mean, this is the country with maid cafes and host bars and hostess bars and whatnot. Not everything is about sex. It's the ironic thing here, right? We think of Japan and we think of adult videos and Shinjuku and all that, right? The red light district and so on and so forth. But it's exactly because Japanese are such a sort of reserved society, and you'll always hear these news about how people are really lonely and whatnot, and that's why these kinds of services spring up, right? In fact, I think a few years back, like back in maybe 2015, 2016, I just heard of a service that was also using an app that essentially lets you rent someone to sleep with. And sleep here, I mean like the legit, pure version of sleep, like as in literally they just sleep beside you and that's it, or take a nap together, something like that. Not in the have sex kind of sleep. Though of course, I always had that question at the back of my mind: is it really such a legit service? But if I remember looking at the service chart back then, and it was really only completely legit stuff, right? Like things such as lap pillows, things such as snuggling, spooning, that kind of stuff, and that was basically it, right? So it just gives you an idea of how how there's a niche for everything, basically. So totally get that this is a believable situation, and it probably still exists right now, right? Although whether or not it's an app, that's another thing. And in fact, in Japan right now, and well, I should say worldwide, there is this influx of dating apps. So a lot of them also offer these kind of services similar to that. But on the other hand, though, I do kind of understand Kazuya's position a little bit. So obviously not his outburst and whatnot. That's ridiculous. You already paid the money to ask them to do this kind of thing. You're not going to say, for instance, you hire a professional or something else, right? Like say, for instance, you hire a professional musician or music teacher. You're not going to get mad and say, hey, you're only teaching me for money and whatnot, right? It's a transaction, and that's that. However, what I do understand about him and his feelings is that it's actually kind of hard to really get yourself into the mindset of yeah, this is someone I paid money for. This is not their real intentions. This is not the real heart, and then still try and act out all this other stuff as normally as usual, right? Due to I've had some chances over the years, right, to get into situations somewhat like this. And well, all I can say is I don't quite. It feels quite unnatural to me. A lot of times I experience the same situation as Kazuya. They're basically like, oh, I really don't want to do this. I want to go home and whatnot. And it's actually kind of a chore, right? I don't know how to explain it very well. It's not even a case about the money or whatnot, because I've had times such as this where it was actually paid for me and whatnot. But it's more the fact that you at the back of your head you realize that they are faking it, right? And so it becomes a strain on you. It becomes a chore on you as well, in order to think of how you should exactly respond to them and whatnot. Like how should you gauge your affection or how you should act towards them, right? Of course, some people, they just get a kick out of doing this kind of stuff and whatnot. Personally, I really can't. Now, however, I did find a way to help with this kind of situation eventually, and that is to have lots and lots of alcohol. Because once you got enough alcohol with you, everything seems natural, and then you can enjoy the situation, or as much as you can, anyways. But yeah. Anyways, beyond that though, there is one thing I would say to Kazuya here. One piece of advice, and that is to whack one out before he makes this kind of decisions, right? Because the power of post-nut clarity is very real and true. Now, then again, during that scene where he decided to press the button and whatnot, we saw a lot of crumpled tissues there, so we can have a pretty good idea of what he was doing. Then again, he clearly got turned on with imagining an NTR situation with his ex-girlfriend, so I would just tell him, do it again until you can't do it anymore, and then there wouldn't be any kind of problem like this. So yeah, anyways, let's talk a little bit more about the characters, right? So Kazuya, I don't really have too much to talk about right now. I'm sure that, it's not exactly a very good first impression, right? But I'm sure, since he is the main character and all, he'll get a chance to redeem himself in the future. We still got a long series ahead of us. Let's not rush too much on this part, right? He'll have his chance to appeal to us later. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit more about Chizuru, and honestly, she really, really impressed me. Now, I'm not going to go into the moral implications and whatnot of doing this kind of business, right? Because I feel like that really depends on a person and their own moral perspectives and whatnot. What I will say, however, is I totally respect her professionalism. So we can see that she takes her work very seriously, and that is something that I hold in high esteem and high regard, and something that I respect very much. We can see that she really strives to have good ratings from her customers, right? And she pays attention to the little details in her service, right? Things such as holding hands, making it part of a service, crafting a good a good parting situation where people feel like they've been serviced and they want to become repeat customers and whatnot. That is definitely something to, there's something to say about her work ethic in all this. Not to mention, like, we can also see the lengths that she went to in order to sort of make Kazuya's second experience a little bit better, right? Like, even going so far as to read up on knowledge on fish and whatnot, and so on and so forth. She's taking it seriously, right? And she's working hard towards it as well. And then again, like when this emergency situation came up with Kazuya and he had to rush to the hospital, common sense would dictate, and indeed, I'm sure in the user terms and conditions, it would probably also say that if the client themselves are going to something unexpected rised up and it kind of turned different from the situation that they had already agreed on, then pretty much what should happen is to just call it off and maybe get a partial refund or something like that. That is that, right? But no, Chizuru was like, hey, you're my customer, I'm gonna see it through till the end, right? So I can definitely respect that. She's definitely she's working hard at this, and she's not just phoning it in, as I'm sure a lot of people who are doing this kind of thing are. So, applause to her for this respect. I respect professionalism, I respect work ethic, with whatever profession that you are doing. And as for her own backstory, I think the easiest guess would just be that she needs money, right? Either for college, which we can see she's attending, or perhaps it's for her family. I mean, her grandma is in the hospital after all, so it could be a case where she needs to work a bit harder to make ends meet and also send money back home for treatment, or maybe she has some more siblings, her family, yada yada yada, right? I'm sure we'll also learn more about that in the future. But anyways, the twist at the very end, I guess you could say, is that they are going to the same college, and Chizuru apparently has a sort of, this Chizuru, this really beautiful and whatnot kind of Chizuru, that is sort of like an alter ego of her, and in college, she's like this plain-looking glasses kind of girl, right? Although, since Kazuya clearly recognized her, how plain can she actually be, right? And not only that, but judging from the opening scenes and from the ending, the ending animation and whatnot, we can clearly see that Mami, Kazuya's ex-girlfriend, is clearly going to still play a major role in this, right? So perhaps, she had her own situation as well, her reasons for breaking up with Kazuya. I wouldn't be surprised if in the future it turns back into a case where Mami is trying to actively get back with Kazuya once again, and then we can go through the classic harem rom-com kind of tropes and situations, right? So, looking forward to that. Anyways, that's it for the first episode. Entertaining so far. I do hope that Kazuya impresses me a bit more in the future, but we've still got time, right? Hope you guys all enjoyed this. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.